Yep. Good evening, everyone. So last session we discussed about how do we work with template forms. We learned about template forms and validation. Now we need to see another important model driven or reactive forms. What are model driven and reactive forms? What is the main purpose of model driven and reactive? What are the drawbacks of template already we learned? So all those are here. Model driven forms advantages. So clean separation of code and UI. So easy to extend, easy to test. So less burden on UI. So that means renders fast. All these are some of the major advantages of model driven. These are the drawbacks with template driven. In template driven, these are some issues. Now it is easy to extend, easy to test, less burden on UI. They will render fast, response fast, because everything is defined in controller level. That is the main concept of reactive forms. How to design them, we will see actually. The library required for this is library required for reactive form, model forms. Model driven forms is a reactive forms module. Reactive forms module in Angular forms. Actually, for template driven forms, we need a forms module. And for reactive forms, we need a reactive forms module. This is the module you need for designing the forms, right? So in order to create the form, so you need to import this in app module. So what you have to do, so first step one, we have to import. So import reactive forms module in app.module.ts. That is the first step you have to do. So let's go to the project. In the project app module, where the modules are imported. So in imports, what is it? Reactive forms module. Actually, it is present where? In Angular forms, we have another option called reactive forms module. So we have to import this reactive forms module. We have to import that reactive forms module. We need to import this, and we need to configure that in the modules. In imports, we have to specify. Then it is available to use. First, we have to import this, and in imports array, we have to keep this. Reactive forms module you have to keep. This is the first step. Now, second step, step 2 is entire form is configured in a controller. Entire form is configured in controller. That means you have to configure everything inside the controller. Controller means our TS file. View means the HTML file. In the controller, we have to configure the form. And how to configure the form? Actually, we need classes like form group. We have form control. These are the two important classes. So we have like form builder. Form builder is an service. Later we will see that. Actually, form group is used to, it configures form element. It configures the form element. Form control, it configures input, select, text area. All these are defined by form control. Form builder, it is a service. Why we need a service, I will tell you. We will discuss about that. So entire form is configured in controller by using these classes. What are the classes we have? Form group, form control, and form builder. After configuring, how to configure, we will see that. Suppose we need to create a form. What is the syntax? Simply, we have to create a form. That means FRM public, FRM register is equal to new form group. New form group means it is a form, right? We are configuring a form. And in this form group, it contains an object. That object contains controls. That means I want a text box for some username. That means here we have to define field name. For this field name, we need a control. How to create a control? New form control. And every control will have default value, what value you want, and it will have validators. Validators is an array. Validators means what validations you want for that particular control. That you have to mention by using this. You can add any number of forms, any number of elements. Any number of elements, that means you can put a comma, another field name, and a new form control, and we can put a value, and we can put validators. Like this, we can add any number of elements. So this is, you created a form and you created some elements inside the form. Now we need to bind this to UI. Third step, step 3. Step 3, bind the model form with UI. We have to bind this model form that we created in controller. We need to bind this to UI. How to bind this to UI? We have a form. So to bind the form group, we have to use form group property. We have to use a form group property. Form group is equal to, what is the name? FRM register. We have to define the form group. Suppose we will need to bind text box. Input type is equal to text. For this text box, we need to bind the control. We have to use form control name. Form control name, field name, we have to do. That means what is the point? This form is binded with this element. And this field, any field, is binded with this element. Understood? So in the UI, it is only one option. It will have form group and it will have form control name. That's it. It's very simple. Your UI becomes very clean. Your UI becomes lightweight. It will be fast in rendering. It is easy to extend. Later, if you want to add, it is easy. I will show you the process, how it happens. So Designing a template form contains three phases. First, we have to import template module. Second, you need to create a form model driven. Then you have to bind with the UI. Let's see example. So I will add a new component here to test this. A lot of components are now here. Let's add a component. ng generate component reactive demo skip test. I'm adding a component called reactive demo, and let's keep this in the startup. In app module, I will keep that here. Yeah, reactive demo. And let's keep this in the startup. Reactive demo. I am adding reactive demo. Let's run this and see here it's working fine. Okay. Let's design the form now in the reactive demo. Yeah. Let's go to the TS file. This is the TypeScript file. Here we have to import some classes. So what are the classes you need? We have to import. So we need a form group from Angular Forms, and we need a form control. So form control. These two are basically required. Now, how to create a form? Just we have to define public FRM register is equal to new form group. Now form group contains some C collection of controls. Then we need to put an object. In this object, we need to define what are the fields you want in the form. I want username. Okay. Username is what type? A new form control. And here, remember, first we have to mention value. Value is empty. I don't want any value. And if necessary, we can put validators. Validators means required. So min length, we can put validators. As of now, we will not do any validation, because first we will learn how to design a form, bind it. Later we will see about validations. Level by level we will see. First level, we will create a simple form and see how it is working. So second, I want mobile and new form control. And here I define this. Okay, next I defined a city. So I defined city. It is a new form control. And this is empty. I am defining another, suppose stock. So here I am giving stock. Suppose I will do like this. So I will put a name and I will put a price so that I can show you all details. City, stock. Stock is also a new form control. And here we can define, so the value as suppose false. And for price, I will give you 0. That means it is number. And this is string, and this is also string, and this is stock. Okay, form is ready. That is done. After the form is ready, now what we need to do? In this form, we need to bind this to UI. So let's go to the user interface. And in the user interface, we are designing a form. So class, so container fluid. And here we keep a heading, register product, and we design a form. Okay, I will keep this inside it. Okay, for this form, I am just defining a simple data list, data term. In this, we have name and data definition. Input type is text. Input type is a text. Okay. Another data term, price. And input type is also text. Okay. Another data term is city. City, I will give a drop down, select and option some Delhi and some option some Hyderabad. And we will use another data term, that is stock. And data definition, I will put a checkbox. Input type is equal to checkbox and here some available. Like this I given. Now we will put a button inside it. So say register. Let's keep the class BTN primary. Okay. Now this is the form design. Now what we need to do is we need to bind those elements to this UI. Whatever the form you design in controller level, we need to bind, because yesterday you saw when we used reactive form, what is the problem is, in reactive form, to collect the data from this name, what we have to do to collect the data from name, this input contains, one is name, it should contain ng model, am I right? It should contain hash reference name is equal to ng model. These many things you need to define. Later validation also will come, but now we don't need all this. We don't need all this. Just go for form. You have to use a property called form group. Form group. What is the form group name? FRM register. That is the form group. That's it. For text box, we have to give form group name, form control name, form control name. Form control name is what this is referring to, name. That means you need to refer to this name correctly. Understood? That is name. Okay. Second one, form control name. Control name. This is referring to price. This is form control name. This is referring to city. And what is that? Stock. Here, form control name. Form control name. This is referring to stock. Okay. That's it. That's it. You don't need anything else. Now your form is ready. Now you want to collect the data and submit. Then let's write a method here, public register click. On register click, we need to collect the form data which is any type, and we will just put JSON.stringify whatever the form data is coming. Now when submit, form submitted, we have to collect. That means here we have to write an event. What is it? Submit. Submit, what is it? Register click. It is expecting what? FRM register dot value. We need to send that value. Same how you send the value of that elements. That's it. Now let's run this and see. Enter the name. So, and select, enter the price, and you can select a city, and you select stock and register. On register click, we need to write, it is not submitting the data somewhere. Form, let's check any error is there. Inspect in the console. So no error. We are not alerting, na? Yeah, we will put an alert. We will put an alert. We are just converting a JSON.string5 form data. Okay, fine. We are not displaying the data. Let's display it. Okay. Now I am entering the details. So the name, the price, and we selected the city here, and the stock and register, the data will come. Now everything is working. That is quite simple and looks very clean. You see our UI, it's very simple. Just form is binded with one property, form group, and control is binded with a property, form control name. That's it. So that means it is satisfying these options. Clean separation of code and UI. It is easy for testing, less burden on UI. It renders fast and easy to extend. You will extend later. We will see that. So this looks better, but this is required when you are trying to use code behind technique. Suppose you are using inline technique, everything comes in one file, then we don't want to depend on a lot of code written in controller. We need to do everything in the UI. Remember, even validations also designed in the controller level. Validations are defined in the controller level. Validation separate part we will discuss. This looks very simple and clean and very easy, right? So this is a simple form. This is first level example. In this example, we will see a simple form. So for that, we will use reactive demo dot component dot ts. In the ts, let me copy this for you. In that, we just created a form and reactive demo dot component dot html. In that HTML, we are defining this, and this is done. Okay, now comes the point. It's done. Now next point is, actually we will see another. So we can have a nested form also. One second. I will get back here. Okay, so yeah, let's see. Here we can create nested forms with the async approach. We can create a nested form with async. Already I told you yesterday one issue. Can we have a form inside another form? Technically we cannot create, but we can design UI in such a way that it can submit only specific portion of the form. That's what actually async. How we can create such async forms? That means how we can manage such async form. Actually, that's very simple. Nested form is nothing but, suppose, let's go to the design. In the design, here, this is name, price, city, stock. Suppose there is a rating and vendor, some details are there. Those details we want to maintain in a separate form. Rating is a separate form and supplier vendor details separate form. So what we will do is we will put here comma. We will design FRM here. FRM as what we will do? We will as a vendor. So vendor, FRM vendor. In this FRM vendor, so we will, this is an child form. Inside form, how to create another form? Just by using new another form group again. Form group. In this form group, again controls will come. That means this is the parent form. In the parent form, this is the child. That means any level of forms you can create. Wherever you want to create a form, the class is form group. Wherever you want to create elements, then you have to create form control, right? Just here we are defining. So what is the vendor name? So vendor name. Vendor name. I will put the vendor name as a new form control. New form control. I will put here empty value. Okay. What about rating? Rating also a new form control. That's also some number. Rating I want just like some number. This is a form. That means what we are doing, we have a form inside another form. Inside another form. But how to bind this to UI? How we can bind this to UI? That means nested forms means what? You can configure a form group inside another form group. Understood? You can configure a form group, sorry, this is form group inside another form group. We can maintain multi-levels, right? How we can do that? So syntax I will give first here. This is the heading, say nested forms. Yeah, how do we do that? Actually, syntactically, FRM register is equal to new form group. In that we have some control. So some name is this is field. In the field we have new control, form control. We have some value and we have array. Array is what? Validators. After that, you can define another form. This is child form. How to design child form? Another new form group. Form group, and this is again having a child elements. This is field and again new form control. We have to define in this way. Like this, we can create nested forms. We can define nested forms. That's how it looks like. So we can create nested forms and define. So that is how we can configure. But how to attach the child form in the parent form? In the UI, so you have to bind parent form group. You can say parent form group to form element. You have to bind parent form group to form element. What about child? Can we write another form inside form? it is not possible. Yesterday I told you in HTML you cannot have a form inside another form. Then you have to bind child form group to any HTML container. Any HTML container means you can put it for a div, or you can put it for aside anything, any container you can add. That is what we have to do. Syntactically, how to bind first parent form, how it is binded, form group. Form group is equal to FRM register. That is the parent form. How to bind the child form? We have a div. Here we have to use form group name. Form group name is equal to child form. You have to bind like this. Here we will keep the child form details. Here we keep the parent form details. That means this div works as a form now. The div works as a form and it can submit only those details. Any specific details you can submit. This works as a child form. That means, can I use a form element again? No, there is no chance, because HTML will not support. HTML will not support to have a form inside another form. Then dynamically we have to create a form by using this approach. This is how we create nested forms. Control anywhere, control only. In child form or in parent form, control is control. But parent form is defined as form group name. Child form is defined as, parent is form group. Child is defined as form group name. Let's see now how to bind this. Two options are there. FRM vendor, in that vendor name and rating. So let's go here. What we are doing, we are adding. So after the stock details, we will put a div. Okay, in this div, we have to put a heading. So another heading saying that these are vendor form. Okay, this is an vendor form. In this vendor form, we will keep another data list, and in that we will keep a data term, and in this we will say vendor name. User can type the vendor name or you can select the vendor name. Suppose I will give here select. I will give a select option here. Select, and here we need to define option, some Reliance Digital, and we have an option, so Bajaj Electronics, right? Like this, these are the vendors. Now we will put another data term. So, and here we will put rating and data definition. So I will keep input type is equal to range, and min is 1 and max is 5. I am giving like this. So that is the option we are defining. Now how we can collect this information, how to bind here now. How to bind here nested forms. Binding this is challenging one now. Why it is challenging, I will tell you here. So value is 1. Okay, this is the range we are having. Okay, now you can see here, we have to collect the data from this vendor form. That means it is an object. In that object, another embedded object. In that object, you need to access a property. We need to access the property from this location. Actually, this is present in FRM vendor. FRM vendor is present in FRM register. What is the hierarchy now? Directly parent elements you can access, but child elements you cannot directly access. Then how? We learned the solution for this in TypeScript. It is an object. We learned how to access an inner property of an object directly. By using accessors. Remember the accessors concept I explained in TypeScript? We used accessors for two situations. To control the property behavior. In certain stage it will work read only. In certain stage it will work as read write. We used accessor, remember? That is why TypeScript is very important. Remember, Angular interviews you cannot crack without TypeScript, because you can expect 30-40% of questions on Angular will be on TypeScript. First they start with TypeScript, then they go into Angular. That means you will not get any direct Angular question until or unless they think you are good in TypeScript. So you need to be very strong, right? You need to remember all those points that we learned, right? So now how do we put an accessor? You know suppose how do we give an accessor here? So get, what is the accessor name? Vendor name. It is an accessor. What this accessor have to do? It should return. What it should return? This dot FRM register. In FRM register we have, what is it? In FRM register what option is there? Can we access directly? There is an option, FRM vendor. That FRM vendor is not directly available, because FRM register is a form group. FRM register is a form group. You cannot access directly. Then how do we access? In FRM register, we have a collection called controls. This controls, you can see it shows the list of controls you are having. Am I right? It is showing the list of controls you are having. And you see controls is an object. Controls is an object. In that there is an option here. You can see there is an option. What is the option we are having? FRM vendor is there, right? That means, for example, I am using FRM vendor. In that FRM vendor, what is the option we need to access? In FRM vendor, what is that? We have suppose vendor name. Vendor name I am giving. It's not allowing. Why? Because FRM vendor is an object. Observe the type of this. FRM vendor is a group now again. In that group, what we have? In that group, we have again controls. In that controls, we have vendor name. Understood? This is the approach we have to follow. This is the new concept of Angular 14. Actually, in Angular 14, they designed the concept of strongly typed forms. Actually, the strongly typed forms, so earlier, they are not strongly typed. That means earlier what we have to do, these controls, we need to access like an array, and we have to define the name. If you define any name as a string type, then it is resolved dynamically, not at compile time. It will resolve at runtime. And what is the problem if it is resolved runtime? If anybody asks what's new in Angular forms in Angular 14. So what is new in Angular forms in Angular 14 is strongly typed forms, strictly typed forms. So that means reactive forms became strongly typed. That means they can easily identify which control you are dealing with. So actually which is resolved at the runtime, but now it is resolved at the compile time only. Compile time itself, it will say this is not there. Earlier, this is a headache with us. Why? Because We will write a control name, spelling mistake, capitalization problem. Then at runtime, it will show error. Compile time, it will not show any error. This they have resolved from Angular 14. In Angular 14 onwards, they made it possible in such a way that compile time itself, it will verify. That is better. Otherwise it is dynamically verified. Now you see here the controls. In that controls, what is it? FRM vendor. In that again controls. In the controls we have a vendor name. It is returning that control. That means now this vendor name refers to this vendor name. And this is one more important is, so what type of value it is returning? What it is returning? What is this vendor name? It is a control. That means it is returning a control. So to make it easily understand that I am returning a control, that means now what is the return type? If I ask what is the return type of this accessor? Is it a string? Is it a number? Is it a boolean? What is the return type of this accessor? Return type is it is returning a control. It is returning a control. So that is why we can configure this as form control. You can make it as form control. That makes more stronger. That means it says that I am returning a control. And what is that control name now? Vendor name. Vendor name. So here you see now that control name, here we are configuring. So how to define? I'm using form control name is equal to, we have vendor name. That is the form control name it is. That is the form control name it is referring to. Now what about the range? That means this rating. Same, we need another accessor for that. We need to configure. What is it? We need an accessor. What is that? Rating. For rating, what are the options we need to define? Return this dot, what it has to do? FRM register, FRM register, FRM register dot controls. In that controls, we have to get FRM vendor. In that, we have a controls. In that rating, as what is it? Form control. We have to configure as form control. Now we need to bind this here. That means we have to just use here also form control name. Form control name is equal to, what is it? Rating. So this is how we configure the elements and define them. Now see here, I am entering the data. So, and I am selecting some price details. I am adding this. Now stock, I am selecting vendor and user rating, and I click on register. You see all the details it is coming, but these are missing. Those are missing. Of course, it is returning, the value is missing. That means we need to collect the value coming from that particular details. How? It is returning empty. As of now, it is returning empty. For example, you see here, it is configuring empty. By default, what happens is, we mentioned the form control name. We mentioned the form control name. We mentioned the form group name correctly. That means this belongs to which group? Have we mentioned this vendor form as a group? We haven't mentioned that vendor form as a group. Then how it will collect? It belongs to child form, na? That div we created, but we haven't made it as a form. Then how it will collect the data? Then what we have to do? We need to mark it with a property. What is it? Form group name. So form group name. This is for child ones. What is the form group name here? Form group name is what? FRM what? Vendor. FRM vendor is the form group name. Right? So the FRM vendor, na, what is the form group name? We given here FRM vendor. This we need to apply to this area because that is using child form. That is using the child form. So now you see I am entering the details. I am entering the details here. I'm selecting that available and some rating details and register. You see the details will come. If you don't configure that child form, then it is unable to collect the data. Now you can see the data is coming from the parent as well as child. So this is nested forms. Now what is specialty here is, if you want, you can update only that portion. Your wish, you can update only vendor form. You can update one field in main form, one field in rating. For example, how this becomes asynchronous, how this will become asynchronous, I will show you. How to make it asynchronous? Asynchronous means what? I must able to submit only the details which are modified, not entire form. Without reposting the complete form, we must able to post only the details which are modified. We can do that. That means you designed a form. It's not necessary to post entire form. Without posting entire form, we can post only specific portion of the form. That is good. That is actually required in various occasions. Because you see, suppose you are designing a website in a registration form and user is entering user ID. And when user is entering user ID, before entering other details, it will connect with the database and verify is that user ID taken or not. Without posting entire form, how it is verifying whether user ID taken or not? That means it is able to submit only the details of the text box and it is verifying those details. That means it is no need to submit the entire form. It will submit only specific portion. So how do we do this now? For example, see here, actually I will put a option simple just for your reference sake. I will put a button here and I will say update and let's put a class btn. Yeah, so btn and btn some info something, and on this update button click, I need to submit only specific. That means what we have to do is, so here we will just keep this update button margin S2, so some gap. Okay, fine. Now here I want this update button to fire up and update only specific details. Then what we will do is, because remember, if you write any button in a form, every button is considered as a submit button. Every button is considered as a submit button. Observe carefully now what happens. I'm entering the details. I'm entering some price. I'm selecting some city available. So here vendor name and rating, and I click on update, and update also submitting. Update also submitting all the details. But update should not submit. Update should not submit. Only register button should submit. Then what we have to do for this button, we can make the type as button. Otherwise, every button in HTML5 is in which type of button? Submit. We have to set the button type as button, then it will not behave as a submit button. You entered some data and click on update, it's not firing. Now, when I click update, I need to update only few details. Suppose I want to update the price and I want to update the rating. I don't want to update other details. Price is from parent form and rating is from child form. Then how do we do that? So let's see here. We are writing a simple function here. What is the function? Public update click. On update click, we need to update only specific portion of the form. Then we have to access like this. This dot frm register dot patch value. Patch value is used to update only a specific portion. Actually, FRM register have an option called update. Update is used for actually updating all details. If you are updating only a specific detail, not all details, then we have to use what? Patch. patch value, you can use an option called set. Set is for validations, all these options. We can use set value also, set value. And you can see it is expecting to set all these values. Set value means you can set all the values. Only specific values you want, then better to use what? Patch value. Set value for updating all details and patch value to update only specific. So what is the values to update? We need to put an object. Okay. What are the properties we are having? Property is I want to update price. So price, how much? Some 45,000. Okay. After that, what you want to update? I want to update FRM vendor. In FRM vendor, what you want to update? I want to update only rating. How much? I want to give 4.5. That is how we can update only specific. That means one value from here, one value from here. That means what it will do is, observe now, update click should fire up when user clicks the update button. So on this button, what we have to write? Click. What is the method to use? Update click. On update click, it will fire up. Now let's write the logic and see here. I'm entering the name. I'm entering the name. I'm entering the price. I'm entering the price. I'm selecting the city. And observe carefully stock, vendor name, and rating. I'm leaving the rating like that. Observe when I click on the update button, when I click update, the price you can see, the price is updated and rating is updated. Others are not posted. That means you can see the price is changed here and the rating also changed here. Rating also changed here. That is updated because you mentioned those. So what is the point here? You can update only specific portion of the details. You see it will update those details. Now when you submit, then it will submit all the updated details also. That means without submitting the form, we must able to update only specific portion of the form. Actually, to do such forms, you need lot of AJAX in reality. Now it is internally managed. Everything is internally managed just by a simple form group. Just by using a form group. That is good. Actually, to achieve this kind of concepts, lot of jQuery AJAX we need to use in the background. Now only one step is collect the data and push it into the database by using some API methods that we will see. But this is the basic thing you need to understand, how to create a nested form. Creating a nested form, accessing the nested form, that is important. That means, see, generally, there is no need of keeping a headings. Headings like in Angular 14, this is new. I will do that at the end because remember, whatever you are learning in Angular now, all are new features only. All are new features. As per the new features we are discussing. Just for your understanding and clarity sake, at the end, I will put some difference table that in Angular previous version, these options like this. In the new version, these options like this. But remember, you are learning all the new features. Integrated. I am not highlighting them. I am teaching you as a part of new because I am saying that I am teaching you Angular 14. That means I should tell you all the 14 features only integrated into it. Just only the point at the end you need to understand that in old version, how they write. In the new version, how they write. Yesterday I told you how they write working with validations. I told you changes in validations. I told you now changes in the form. In the form. Actually, changes are there in component also that we will see in the next level. That means components also a little bit changed now. That you will learn while learning the routing concept. I will explain how these components also change little bit. Right? Now the point is how do we create a nested form? How do we bind? How do we get the data? And how do we update? Right? This is the example for that. Same template form.component.ts. This is not template form. This is reactive demo. reactive demo. Okay. In this reactive demo, let me keep this. I hope you are clear in this. What we done? We created a nested form here. So a form inside another form means we have to do that by using form group, right? After creating the nested form, we have vendors, we have rating. These are what? Accessors. Accessors for accessing any inner control, inner element. So after that, on update, we are updating specific details, right? So make sure that the update button is changed to type button. Otherwise, it will submit. It will submit. Example, this one. And reactive demo dot component dot HTML. In HTML, we added a simple interface. What is that? Yeah. In the HTML, we added a simple interface. Yeah. In this interface, what we done? Main form is defined as form group and child form is defined as form group name. Where is the child form? Child form is defined as form group name. That is child form. If you don't configure the child form, main form can submit the fields, but it cannot submit the values. Fields are submitted because these fields are part of main form only, but value is not submitted. To submit the value, you need to configure this. Otherwise, value is not submitted, right? This is so an example for how do we create reactive form. But by seeing this code, by seeing this block, especially by seeing this block of code, I will show. Yeah, by seeing this block of code, several developers are not satisfied. Several developers are technically not satisfied. Why? Can you tell the reason? Why they are not satisfied with this block? What is technically problem in this? Do you find any technical problem in this which is not satisfying? What is the problem? Have you seen the problem in this? Let's see, anybody can tell the problem. What is the problem in this? Anyone have an idea? Data hiding, right? Anyone have an idea? Actually, one of the major thing which is not satisfying as a developer is that new control. Why you are allocating memory dynamically for every control? This is memory overloading. Means you are allocating memory for every control newly, dynamic. That means whenever the control is being accessed, you are allocating a new memory. That is not satisfying. This is single call like mechanism. Single call like mechanism. That means every time memory is allocated for that object, that control finished, memory deleted. Then this is not good if you are designing continuous forms. Continuous forms means you submitted the data, but still the data must be there so that in the next concept we will use the data. In such cases, this is not great. This is not good. And many developers are not satisfied with this because allocating a new memory every time is not satisfying. Then what is the solution for this? So same like if you can implement a singleton pattern. Singleton pattern means memory is allocated only once and memory is allocated for the form. That memory will be used by controls. You are allocating a memory for the form, you are allocating memory for the controls, then you can allocate memory for a form which will be used by controls also. This can be achieved by using a service, and that is called form builder. Form builder service. We have a form builder service. Form builder service, you know service concept. Service means you have to inject into your component and you have to use. And what is the specialty of this form builder service is it represents a singleton pattern that makes memory more better in use. But here also problem is there. What is the problem? Your memory is continuous. If it is not disconnected memory, if it is not disconnected memory, I told you already, static and non-static. If it is not disconnected memory, security issue may come, memory may be heavy, means memory is in use. Memory is in use, but you are not using it. These kind of issues will come. But if you need continuous operations, better to go with this. That means no need to do any change in your UI. Just only the change in how you design the form. That means now see here what I will do. We will do one thing. Later we will see that. So I already posted this example. So now let's clean up this code. Okay. Now a lot of errors will come because all are related. Now we need to inject a form builder service. We have to first import form builder. And form builder is a service. It is a service. Now what we have to do is inject that service into, how to inject into component we know. We have to create a private FB, that is form builder, and it is of what type? Form builder type. Now once you injected, what you can do is you can simply access that. So how we can access that? That means we can use, so here we are defining public. So public, what is it? FRM what? Register. FRM register. So it is equal to this dot FB. FB dot group. This creates a form group. Understood? That creates a form group. I am not using new memory. Understood? The memory is allocated at the time of creating the component, and the same memory we are using for the form. Now inside this, what are the elements? We need name. Name is what? So this dot FB dot control. It is a control. Control will have a value. That's good. There is no new memory allocated. Right now we are using another one, price. Price is what? This dot FB dot what? Control. And this is price is what? Empty 0. Right? What is the next one? We have city. City is what? This dot FB dot control, and this is empty. What is the next one? Stock. Stock is this dot FB dot control, and it is false. Then this is next one. Now we need another child group, FRM vendor. Am I right? FRM vendor. FRM vendor. So it is a group. Then this dot FB dot, what is it? Group. In this group, again controls. What are the controls we need? Vendor name. Yes. Vendor name, and this dot FB dot control, that is the vendor name. What about another one? Another one is rating. This dot FB dot control, this is also rating. Now this is your form builder. So this is the form builder. There is no new memory here. This looks great, good. But this is not great every time, because again burden. If you are not using continuous forms, then this is problem. So you see here now, and you observe now, here we have the option. What is it? Rating is number type. Rating, yeah. Rating is number type 0. Okay. Now you can see now, same form. We haven't made any change in the UI. We haven't made any change in elsewhere. We just changed the way we created the form. Now we will enter the details and we will enter the price. So, and we will select the city and we will choose and so details and we will click on here, register. All the details are same. And when I click on update, then it will patch the details and submit. It is going to submit the details. Nothing changed. But this time it looks better. Why it looks better? Because now you are using a continuous form. Memory is not allocated for every control separately, dynamically. This is form builder. So technically, what is form builder? So form builder is nothing but it is a service. It is a service provided by reactive forms module. It is a service provided by reactive forms module. What is advantage of service? It uses singleton pattern for configuring form and its elements. It uses a singleton pattern for configuring the form and its element. So here, for that, what we have to do, we need a form builder to inject. So what we have to do, private. So private FB form builder, it is of what type? Form builder type. And through that form builder, the methods provided. So we have the FB dot, we have group. This group is used to create a form. And FB dot what? Control. Control is used to create input, or it is used to create select, or it is used to create text area. All these are designed. And another option is there, that is array. Array. This is used to set collection of controls. Collection of controls. This is another important you need to know. What is the speciality of this array is it allows you to add or remove controls dynamically. In the form builder, array allows you to add or remove controls dynamically. Add or remove controls dynamically means, for example, suppose why we need to add remove controls into a form. Dynamically it should update. For example, actually, suppose you are designing a form, and suppose when you are creating a form, there is an option called upload. There is an option upload photo. Am I right? And there is an option upload photo. They given a box so that you can upload the photo. That means they given a simple browse button so that you can upload the photo, right? Now what happens is, here I want to upload more photos. I want to upload more photos. You have seen in websites they give a more link. When I click on that more link, what will happen is they will give one more box to me. Am I right? So that I can upload one more photo. I can click more, then it will get one more here. That means controls are adding dynamically. If you want to remove, you can remove. That means how you will update your form in such a way that it will change dynamically. So that means the new fields are added, then automatically the new control is added. Right? This we can achieve by using form array. Form array. Form array is a collection of controls. By using those, that we can dynamically add elements, we can remove the elements. That means now your form can change. It can add and remove elements. That is very important. For this, we need little lengthy example for that. We need to add that feature into our form by using what? Array. Array. That we will see in tomorrow's session. That becomes very complex, right? First, you need to practice this up to this. Then tomorrow we will finish working with the forms. Tomorrow we will see how to validate the forms also. We will learn two things. One is array Another one is validation. How validation is defined in reactive forms, that we will see. Then we will finish the forms concept. After we finish the forms concept, another major thing you will learn here is routing. How to design a perfect single page application. In this routing, you will learn interacting with backend APIs. We will create our own API and we will see how we can manage. But routing is important to design the interface. That we will see in next session, right? Tomorrow we will continue. In tomorrow's session, first we will see how to set the validations and arrays. Okay, right.